Hello, Internet. So today we are going to try to create a simple logo with GIMP. What is GIMP? GIMP is the new image manipulation program. It's basically a free image editor. Right? It's a free raster image editor or bitmap image editor that is available on multiple platforms. So that's what we're doing. We have it right here. It's here in the corner. And that's what we're going to be using to create our simple logo. So the idea that I had for the logo is related to a game that I'm thinking about creating. So of course I did a logo first. Architecture, design, what's that? I need a logo. And so I have a name though. The name is Quindecim. It's Latin for 15. So it's basically a memory game with numbers. And I think that the logo that I want is a letter Q, and I want some numbers, and I want numbers inside the Q, and maybe a little drop shadow to make it look a little fancy-ish. And yeah, I should be good with that, right? Yeah, that should be it. So before we go into the actual creation of the logo, we need to understand a little bit about the difference between a bitmap versus a vector. So I said GIMP is a bitmap image editor. So what's the difference? So bitmaps are essentially pixels on a grid. It's great for photos or things that are photorealistic, but kind of a little bit of a problem in that if you decide you want to zoom in, the software that is displaying the pixels, or if you try to stretch the image somehow and the resolution isn't there, it pretty much tries to make up space and tries to fill in what it thinks the colors might be, right, on the grid, because you've now increased the size of the grid, and it's usually not very good at that. So it becomes pixelated. There you go. As opposed to a vector image. So a vector image is essentially maths. It's a set of equations that draw lines and other shapes that have colors and color gradients that when you put them all together, it looks like some kind of drawing. So it's great for logos ordinarily, but because of the nature of the logo that I want, the image that I want to use a bitmap. There is another vector editor called Inkscape that's very nice to use. So maybe we could look at that at some point and play with that a little bit. But for the time being, we are going to be doing some bitmap type work. All right. So how do we start? Well, I know what I want. I want a picture of numbers. But how do I get this picture of numbers? I'm not the best photographer, so maybe I could get some numbers and take a picture, but let me see if there's anything available for me to use first. So let's go to this nice little website called Pixabay. Right, Pixabay. So Pixabay right here has a lot of free and royalty-free stock images. So it's basically people that have said, hey, I've taken this very nice picture, and I think you, if you'd like to use it, go ahead. All right, so let's see. I want to look for numbers. All right, and okay, so you have some results come up in the images. And notice the first line here, you have sponsored images by Shutterstock. So usually if you use any of these guys, you have to pay to access the image and download the image. And it's nice that Shutterstock is helping Pixabay, but let's see if we could find what we want first in Pixabay, right? There are 3,287 free images of numbers. We should be able to find something that we could use. All right, so let's see. Lots of different numbers here, lots of different numbers. Ooh, this is not bad, but I wanted in different, look, different colors. It's not bad, it's not a bad idea. All right, this is very, very, very colorful. I don't know, that might be a little distracting. All right, so this one is the one that I like. Okay, it's a banner, but so I won't be using all of the image, but I'll be using this essentially as the fill for the letter Q. So it's a free download, and I could select this and download it, but haha, magic of the internet, I already downloaded it. Ha ha ha. Okay, so, but you'll notice here it says free for commercial use and no attribution required, which means that I can use it in anything I want, even something commercial, and I don't need to say, hey, the digital artist is the one that did this. But I will give a shout out to the digital artist. This is a fantastic, nice image here. And I think you did an excellent job, the digital artist, whoever you may be. And I may come back and give you a little bit of coffee there. But for the time being, let's finish this up. So we have our nice little banner here. So what's the next thing we do after we find the picture we want to use as the background? We import the picture as a layer. All right, so I have GIMP running here. And I go to File, Open as Layers. All right, and here is my banner. All right, so this is a fairly large picture. It's 5,000 by 1,500, right? And it's at 25%, so it fits in the whole canvas area. Okay, so what do we want to do next? Because we've managed to do this import. Next, we want to generate an outline. All right, so for this, I need essentially a letter Q. So let us create a new layer. First, we'll call it Q is here, something like that. Okay, so Q is here. And so notice that I have now two of these entries here, right? So in GIMP, a layer, and pretty much any manipulation program that gives you layers, a layer is, imagine it like a sheet of paper, right, in a book, where you can draw on each sheet individually without affecting the others, or change things without affecting the others. And then when you squish all the papers together and look through, you have the one complete image. And the nice thing about layers is that you can hide them. Look, see, it's still there, but now I can't see it. All right. And we can move them around, and you'll see that in a little bit, how we can move things around. And yeah, so it's a very powerful tool to let us work on pieces of images in particular ways so that we're able to get the results we want. All right, so let us now highlight the Q is here layer. So although I am displaying this layer at the bottom here, because this new layer is what's highlighted, anything that I do is going to end up on this Q is here layer or above this layer, one of the two. So let us do a letter Q. All right, so I do not want this sans serif font, but we'll handle that in a little bit. Let us draw our letter Q. So I use this little toolbar here and selected the text tool to create a text layer. And I want the letter, capital letter Q. All right, now you cannot see that. All right, so let us highlight it and increase the size. So let's say 200 pixels. Still too small. Let's say 2,000 pixels. That's too big. Let's say 1,000 pixels. All right, so maybe about 15. Let's try 1,500 pixels tall. All right, so I really shouldn't muck around with this too much, because if I'm changing the font, which I want to do, because sans serif is not exactly a fancy-ish font, it's kind of plain, something a little bit more curvy. That particular Q might have a different sizing. So let's see what we have here. Century School Book, nice. So this is a fancy smancy Q. All right, very nice at 1,200. That's good for me. Okay, so now I can click this and click away. So now we have a letter Q. We have this Q is here layer, and we have the banner. Let's turn off the banner for a second so you can see what this letter Q looks like. That's a nice letter Q. I like it. It's a nice size and everything. I want to move it, so let me use the move tool to move it around. See, I can just move this around. And let me turn back on the banner, because I want maybe here. I'm going to cut out, yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to cut this out. Okay, so, all right, let's see what we do next. All right, so it says to generate the outline, we need a fuzzy select tool and select by color. All right. So now that I have this letter Q here, and I've highlighted this layer, I would like to use a fuzzy select tool, which looks like this one. All right. So what this does, it selects a region based on color. All right. So right here, one color. Notice it has this little animation now that is showing that it selected the region, both the inside and the outside of this letter Q. All right, very nice. So what do you want to do with this select? I'm glad you asked. We are going to hide the other layers, and we want to basically copy what's selected here and paste it in a new layer. However, if I copy now, because of the layer that's highlighted, I'll be copying the Q that's here. It's nothing. So what I need to do is I need to keep the fuzzy select there and change the active layer that I'm working on. All right, so now I've changed it to the banner layer. I can copy. All right, and notice it's come up here. All right, and you could use it as a brush and all kind of crazy, but that's not what I want to do. And I want to paste it as a new layer. All right, so we now have another layer. We have now created this pasted layer here, and this pasted layer is basically a cutout of the outline of letter Q on the banner. So if we hide the banner, look what we have. We have this, which is the cutout of the picture that I wanted in the shape of this fancy Q. All right, so it looks nice. Very good. So we have this nice little layer here. So we also want to do a little shadow. I'll show you a little trick here because there's other ways to do shadows. But I already have a letter Q here that's in black. So if I turn this back on, you will notice that it is it's kind of out of, since it was originally the outline, it's covering what we just copied out of the banner. So what we want to do is we want to first off move this layer underneath. So you just click and drag the layer underneath our pasted layer. So now we have the opposite problem. Now our pasted layer is now hiding our shadow layer. So we could use the move tool now to select the pasted layer and move the pasted layer just a smidge to the top on the left. There we go, and we have a little drop shadow. So using the rectangular select, you just select outside and voila. Now we have a splendiferous logo. How do we get the splendiferous logo going? So let's see. We copy from import layer to new layer, good. And we place the shadow, we rewrote the layers, and we adjusted the location using the move tool. So the only thing left to do now is export the final picture. We're going to copy the visible area to a new image. So instead of trying to muck around with this and get everything resized right, we have the image that we want. We have the transparency. So why don't we use the rectangular select tool, select the area, right? And then go edit, copy visible, right? So this doesn't care what the layers are. It's what you're seeing on your screen is what it's going to copy. So we copy visible, and then we can paste this as a brand new image, right? So you have a new tab here with a new image. By doing that, it sets the dimensions of the image and it has transparency. And notice there's only one layer here, which is the layer that we had just copied and that was visible and have pasted. So let's save this as a q.logo. Now you might notice that the extension says XCF. This is the GIMP native file format, which is great for GIMP, but most other image viewers and editors do not understand. So we can save this in case we want to do any more manipulation in GIMP with this. We could bring it up and we'll have the transparency, and if you want to add layers, whatever it is we would like to do, we could do that. But in order for it to be usable by something else, we need to export it as some other type of image format. So here in the file menu, there's a nice little export. So we're going to do an export as, right? So that we are able to, okay, it's identified PNG one time. So PNG, Portable Network Graphics, is a raster format that lets you store transparency and basically have it as a picture. All right. So you can change the file type if you want, but we want PNG. As you click export, it asks us for a number of different things. The defaults are usually fine. I'll go through a couple of these. Save the background color. Yes, we want it to be transparent. Save the resolution. Yes. The creation time. So this is metadata that helps with automatic programs that are looking at the PNG, that are looking at, if you want to look at a thumbnail for it, it doesn't have to generate it. It will read the thumbnail from there. EXIF data. This is about usually stored from camera, like shutter information and aperture. It really doesn't apply. We have the compression level to use. Basically, an algorithm runs to try and make the picture as small as possible, depending on the compression level you use. So the higher the compression level, the more compressed it is. So you might see some artifacts with PNGs, depending on how the PNG was created. I personally really can't tell the difference between the different compression levels, so I usually just leave it as 9, and it seems good enough. Plus, the resolution of this particular image is fairly high, so if we need to resize it down, we can without losing any quality. Remember, if it's a raster bitmap, then if you resize down, it's fine, but if you try to resize it up, it will pixelate. So resizing down is good. All right, so let's just export that. All right, and we have our PNG. And yeah, that is about it. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments, questions, queries, or general noise to make, leave a comment down below and I'll try to address it. If there's anything that you'd like to see me work on and explain, then let me know and I'll see if I can facilitate. All right, have a good one. Peace.